When you're wandering up and down the supermarket aisles, it is time-consuming and often impossible to find healthy options that don't contain additives, inflammatory vegetable oils, loads of sugar and other processed ingredients. And that's why I'm excited to share that we are partnering with Part and Parcel, an online store where you can find all of your healthy pantry staples in one place. Head on over to partandparcel.com.au/Natural Super Kids and use the coupon code NSK for Natural Super Kids, $20, that's NSK $20 to get $20 off your first order. I personally love to stock up on healthy baking ingredients, spelt coconut and buckwheat flours, rapadura sugar and maple syrup. They have an amazing range of healthy sauces and condiments. Some of my favorites are the Sears Organic Basil Pesto and the Good Fat Mayo, both made with only olive oil, none of those inflammatory vegetable oils. I always stock up on cans of black beans and chickpeas, lentils, butter beans to add plant fiber to my family meals, and they have a great range of sustainable and healthy tinned fish options as well. I'm always adding crackers and wraps to my order. They stock mountain bread wraps, which I love, rice crackers, seed crackers, again, all without the additives and inflammatory vegetable oils. I love the tea and coffee range. The made loose leaf teas are delicious, as well as the Tulsi tea range. I particularly love the tummy tea after meals. You can find lots of gut health ingredients at Part and Parcel. They stock the Gevity broth pastes and the Nutra organic broth powders, which I always have on hand in my pantry. They also stock things like supplements, cod liver oil, collagen, and whole food powders such as Foraged for You. They have a great range of low-tox cleaning products as well. Some of my favorite brands are stocked at Part and Parcel, Koala Eco and Abode. And they also have personal care products, Weleda skincare, which I love, low-tox sunscreens, deodorants, and so much more. So head on over to partandparcel.com.au/Natural Super Kids and use the coupon code NSK $20 to get $20 off your first order. Orders must be over $99 to claim this $20 discount. I hope you love Part and Parcel just as much as I do. Welcome to the Natural Super Kids podcast, where you will discover practical strategies to inspire you to boost the health and nutrition of your kids. I'm Jessica Donovan, a qualified naturopath specialising in kids' health, and I want to make it as easy as possible for you to raise healthy and happy kids. Let's get into it. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of the Natural Super Kids podcast for 2025. Happy New Year. It is great to be back in your ears again. I love the fresh energy of a new year. I hope you had a beautiful festive season and you're enjoying the summer holidays if you're here in the Southern Hemisphere. And I just hope you had lots of downtime and time to connect with your kids, with your family, and with your loved ones. So here on the Natural Super Kids podcast, for the start of this year, we are continuing our real conversations with mums in our community. And today's episode, we are chatting to Mel, who is one of our Natural Super Kids Club members. So Mel's talking, we had a great chat for this podcast episode. Mel is chatting about her journey with constipation with her son, but we also talk a bit about immunity. We talk about the challenges of, daycare and some of the ways that has kind of held back Mel's son's progress. And so it's a great conversation. I love what Mel shares in this conversation about how being a member of the Natural Super Kids Club has helped her save money while she still has access to that expert support that we provide in the Natural Super Kids Club. So I hope you enjoy this conversation with Mel, and I will make sure that the link to the wait list for the Natural Super Kids Club is in the podcast show notes for any of you that want to come and check it out. When you put your name on the wait list, you will get a limited time backdoor invitation to join us in the Natural Super Kids Club if you are wanting that beautiful community, that ongoing support, and all of the resources that we provide in the club, including recipes and masterclasses and cheat sheets. And as Mel talks about, that ability to ask our team of practitioners all the questions that come up, those inevitable questions that come up when we are raising kids and trying to keep everyone as healthy as possible. So I hope you enjoy this episode with Mel. Welcome to the podcast, Mel. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much for taking the time to share with me and the audience, like our Natural Super Kids podcast audience, like share about your story. I really appreciate your time. Can you start by telling us a little bit about you and your family?
Yeah. So it's just a small family. It's just me, my partner, and our 3.5-year-old son, and a dog, a husky, Lily. So it's just us. And but yeah, so we've obviously had our son 3.5 years ago, and it's just been a very, being in our late 30s at the time having a kid, you kind of have had like a big life before it all, and then adding a kid to the mix definitely throws some unexpected challenges. As excited as you are and how planned it was, it's still, you're kind of like, whoa, okay, the reality of kids is very different to like what you realize, like what you see your friends doing and stuff like that. So
totally. I don't think anyone can prepare you, hey?
No, like literally no one, because always been like, someone needs to like tell mums some of this stuff, and they're like, yeah, but if they did, would you listen? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, probably not. Like, I'd be like, oh, whatever, that was just your experience. But then
I know.
when you're in it, you're like, oh my God.
Why didn't someone tell me about that? I feel like that with the teenagers at the moment. Like,
Oh
why
yeah.
didn't someone tell me about this? Yeah, so I totally resonate. But I don't think you really can get it until you're in it, right?
Yeah, no, you just can't, because it's just because you always go, oh, well, I won't do that with my kid, or my kid won't do that. And then your kid's like doing that, and you're like,
Yeah.
mm,
It's not as easy to manage as like you think
no,
it is.
yeah, yeah,
It's that
definitely.
old, when you see the kid before you have kids and you see that kid having a tantrum in the supermarket and you think,
Yeah,
gosh, I'm never going to allow my kid to do that.
I know. And then I swear they wait till you're in a public place and they're like,
Yes,
and you're like,
they
oh,
do.
that's my karma.
Oh, funny. Yes, yeah, so true. So can you tell us a little bit about the challenges that you've been dealing with when it comes to your son?
Yeah. So when when he was first born, he got diagnosed with a tongue tie. So breastfeeding and stuff was quite a huge battle to begin with. We got over it. He had his tongue tie snipped, which I think we still have to revisit that later down the track, because there's still some oral function issues, and we've seen a airway dentist, and for a while we're seeing a chiropractor and stuff as well. But costs and things add up, and compliance of a 3-year-old it's just sometimes not worth it to kind of force them to do some of those things, because it's just too much stress on everyone. So I've kind of come at it from I'm like, if I can get the foundations of his nutrition and stuff right, at least I know going forward when we have to do other things, we've got those foundations already there. So we've had like sleep issues and gut health issues and stuff like that. So for a while there was a lot of constipation problems. Like he wasn't pooping all the time. So I'd seen a naturopath, and they did like the microbiome test and diagnosed him with some bacterial overgrowths and stuff like that. So we went on a dairy and gluten-free diet, and then built supplements and things in. So we had probiotics and like a PHGG and a couple of other things like fish oil, and I think that was it. But it was mostly to get rid of the gluten and dairy for quite a long time and really limit sugar. I mean, he's not a huge sugar person anyway, because I just don't, it's not something I have. My partner is, but he eats it when my son goes to bed.
Yeah.
I try not to, we don't really like to have too much of it readily available. If it is, it's things that we've made ourselves, because then I can kind of control what's in it.
Exactly, yeah.
But yeah, so that was kind of a 6 to 8 month road, and eventually that was kind of the cost of constantly seeing a naturopath once a month, and all these things that kind of started to add up. And that's when I found you guys, and started doing the recipes from the club and downloaded some of the cheat sheets and things like that. And some of that's actually really helped, and it's kind of pushed me into looking at other options as well with how to go about the constipation and gut health and stuff like that. So it's a battle. Like, I think any mum going through constipation with a kid, you want a quick fix, but it's not. Like, it's months. And it's months of trialing everything and trying to figure out what is the right fit for your kid, because it's not all the same. So I've kind of found my sweet spot with mostly what works. We still have some issues because he'll hold on to poo because he gets a bit anxious, so he won't do it unless he's at home, or with us, so he won't poo at daycare. So when he's at daycare, he won't, and he probably won't even when he gets home, because he's kind of got his tense from
he's holding, yes,
very anxious going to daycare, because he's got some issues with some of the neurodivergent kids there. He's a bit sensitive, so I think kids that are super loud and a bit erratic, he's like,
he's sensitive to that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So there's a few kids in his class that are like that, and he's like, oh, they hit me and stuff, and I'm like, and the teachers address it, and they try to obviously watch, because they got extra teachers for those kids and stuff. But it's
overwhelming for him.
Yeah, but he sticks up for himself, and he sticks up for his friends. If those kids are picking on his friends, he'll get involved and be like, get out of their face, sort of thing. So it's kind of like he's got confidence and stuff, but I think it's just that initial, when I drop him off, he's not going to have me or my partner as his security. So he's got to be like, the educators are great, but it's not mum and dad.
Yes. Yeah. And that's totally normal at 3.5, right? They're so young, and that separation, I mean, I think we sort of view it as a problem, and it can be challenging when, we're dropping them off and they're unhappy. But when they're so young, like, I think it's just normal.
Yeah, definitely. And like within 10 minutes, he's fine and he has a good day. So I know he's got a bond with some of the educators there that make him feel safe and secure. So I'm like, at least I know I can leave and be okay, knowing they're caring for him. And he's only there 2 days. So I'm like, and then the other day my mum will have him. So it's got someone. So it's,
someone he feels safe with. But that kind of stress. And I think kids hold on to so much when they're away from us, don't they? And I think that often exacerbates the constipation issue. Like you're saying, he doesn't feel comfortable going when he's away from home.
Yeah. Like if we're out somewhere, he will. Like we're at the museum the other day and he's like, Mum, leave me alone, I'm pooping. I'm like, okay. But he did get into one of the displays at the museum to poop. And I was like, you can't get in there. I'm like, oh my gosh.
Not there.
Get out of there, not there. Like, no one can see you. Like, it's fine. I was like, oh my gogosh, we're going to get kicked out of the museum with my kids pooping in a display.
Oh, that's funny. Because I'm sure there's this you're encouraging him to poop, but you need to poop in the right place.
Yeah, I'm like, we can like go somewhere because like obviously we're potty training, but the wees are good on the toilet, but the poos he's still not comfortable enough yet to do it without a nappy. But yeah, but yeah, it was just funny. It's like, oh, dude, but like, yeah, he won't go at daycare, but at a museum, he's like totally okay to be like, yeah, this is the coolest place to do this. Like, I'm like, okay, but I guess because he felt comfortable because I was with him, and I could change him straight away. So
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's like, yeah, he feels comfortable and safe because you're there, I'm sure.
yeah,
But this is just bringing up, this is a really common in terms of, kids withholding that have that tendency to constipation and they withhold like your son does, at daycare, but that just it just makes the problem sort of even worse, doesn't it? And yeah. So have you made some progress with the constipation?
yeah. So like I've found my like sweet spot with like at night he has a half a tablespoon of PHGG before he goes to bed, like every night without fail. He has that. Plus I put a little bit of like sleeper-tonin in there as well because that just helps mellow him out for the evening. We do a little bit of a massage with some cream and that. But yeah, and then in the mornings, every morning after breakfast, he has a spoonful of yogurt with probiotics in.
Hmm.
So that's like every day. And then I kind of, now that his immune system and everything's going well, I don't give him every supplement every day. I kind of let his body have a bit of a break between things. So I alternate, like he'll have his fish oil. Um, I, I've kind of given him a bit of a rest from that because he was getting overtaking it. So I might even try to find a different brand or something that's got a different flavor.
Yeah, great idea.
So, and then he has a multi. I've got the ones you guys suggested the other week. I got it's the iron
Yes, the iron
immunoglobulins.
immunity.
Yeah, that. So I give that to him every second day because it makes his teeth all black. So, not to anyone else buying it, they'll have to brush their teeth after because, yeah, they go fully black. And then I've got another brand called Vitology or something, and that's got all the active bees. It's a multivitamin with active bees, and it's got similar iron content. So I alternate between those just so that he's
Getting some iron.
bees and stuff. When I can, when I'll sneak some liver capsules into food, so that might only be once or twice a week. So I'll just open them up and stick them in a lasagna or a shepherd's pie or something with mince because it's kind of similar
Disguises
tasting.
the flavor,
Yeah,
doesn't it? Yeah. So
yeah,
you're talking about like a beef liver supplement.
yeah,
Yeah, not like a liver support supplement, which so be like yeah, and it's such a good idea to add those, as well as maybe some specific iron supplements if needed, because you just get, yeah. It sounds like you've got a really good variety and combination going that and it sounds like you're in a really good habit as well. Like,
yeah,
morning you do this, evening you do this. And I just wanted to touch on something you said before that, like, now that you feel like he's, had some improvements, you don't need to give him all of this stuff every day. And so often we initially need to, maybe give kids supplement support, but then we can, yeah, we're all about like making sure that they're only taking what they need, like not too much. So sounds like you found a really good balance there.
yeah. It's been like initially it was super overwhelming, especially with some of the stuff we got given because they put us on these herbs and compound and stuff. And that was getting quite stressful trying to convince him to take it. And then we're like rewarding him with like a chocolate or something to take it. And I felt bad about being like, oh, you've got to take this really awful stuff, but then you get this really good thing. I'm kind of like a bit like, oh, I don't know about the psychology behind some of that.
Yeah.
So that was quite stressful. But after kind of finishing all of that and me figuring out my own little routine with him and what we do, it's kind of, yeah, improved a lot. Like even now, if he gets sick, like it's over and done with within a few days. And he hasn't really, thank goodness, so far. In the last year, he hasn't been really sick at all. Like, Because before we saw the naturopath, he'd had gastro 3 times and he was getting like chest infections and stuff like that. Luckily, he's only ever had antibiotics once, and that's because he had pneumonia, like walking pneumonia. And I was like, oh, I better give him that just because that's not something I want to mess with.
No.
So he's been pretty good. So I feel like we've done really well. I don't stick 100% to the gluten and dairy free. I'd say we're probably 80-20. Just because if we go out and stuff, like, and he sees his cousin eating something or is at a party, I'm like, whatever, we'll just deal with the craziness for the next few days after this. Like, I already know his behavior is going to alter if he eats certain things. So, and that there might be issues with poop and stuff like that. So I'm kind of like, I'll just prepare myself. But
yeah. So you're making that informed choice, right? Like, and I think it's sometimes good to test, like, what is he like if we add a bit of gluten or dairy back into his diet, and what happens with, his constipation or his moods or his immunity. So I think that's a good strategy. And just going back to what you were saying before about, so you went and saw a naturopath and got on a protocol with them, but then that sort of got a little bit out of hand in terms of expenses. And so how have you found that, like, I guess the club still giving you that support without that high cost? Like, tell us a little bit about that.
It's been such a game changer for how we approach things, because it's not just useful for my son, it's useful for me and like my partner and stuff like that. And so it's been really good where I can jump on and find a recipe and try new things, or like we make, like, if we do get a bit sick, we've got herbs that we grow in the garden, so we can go and make the cough syrups and all that sort of stuff. Like recently myself, my son and my mum all got sick with this funny cough, and my mum was the worst for it, but I made us the cough syrup, and mum kind of was a bit hesitant, like, I was like, just take it. And so I had to make her another batch yesterday because she's like, oh, I can't sleep without it because she coughs all night. So as soon as she has that, she won't. And it's the same.
That's so good.
I noticed with my son, like, if he has that before he goes to bed, if he does have a bit of a cough or something, he does not cough all night. So it's really
and it's literally, for listeners, we're not going to give the recipe away because it is a club member recipe. But it's literally 3 ingredients. You can grow the herbs in your garden, and it, like, it just saves so much money in terms of going to the pharmacy, getting a cough mixture, or even buying a herbal cough mixture, to be able to make something with what you've got in the garden. It's just so good. I love that you made some up for your mum as well.
Yeah, it's good. So it comes in handy. So, but yeah, a lot of the recipes on there are really good. Like, there's some that my son loves. Like, there's I think it's the salmon and rice.
Ah, yes.
He loves fish, which is really good. We probably eat it 2 or 3 times a week, fish and seafood. And so, so there's a lot of things. Like, he's never been too bad with food. Like, he's never really been a picky eater, and he's gotten better since his immunity's improved and his gut health has improved. He eats more and is more willing to try new things, which is really good. And he, like, last night, he even asked for salad. I think all he really wanted was a bit of feta cheese because he knows that I put that in my salad. But he will sit and eat it. Like, I had salad the other week and he was like, can I try it? And I was like, yeah, sure. So we tried some of the veggies and things, and so he's pretty good. And, like, even it's gotten me to eat vegetables I wouldn't normally eat. Like, I'm pretty much eat everything. There's only a handful of veggies I dislike immensely. But I've started eating cucumber, and I was very much an anti-cucumber person. But now that we've figured out, I've got like a little garlic chopper, and I put cucumber, tomatoes and red onion in it, and it dices it up into teeny tiny little squares.
Yes.
So that's our salsa for when we have Mexican. And or like, I'll even just have some in the fridge and put it on, like, if we have salad wraps or something, just add that extra. And then because we've got basil and chives and stuff as well in the garden, sometimes we'll add those. And so So we've got a little routine with certain things going, and I'm pretty like impressed with how well he's kind of come along with everything. So
Yes, and at this age, I mean, what I'm hearing is like the club recipes have helped you kind of maybe like experiment with different foods and different recipes that you might not have, because we get stuck in a bit of a rut, don't we?
oh
Like,
yeah,
and make the same old meals. And so having that repertoire of recipes that you can dive into and try is so helpful, isn't it?
yeah, definitely. Especially like adding, like I've been lucky because both my parents are really good cooks, and my dad's been a cook most of his life. Like that was his job. And they're both really quite health conscious people. So I kind of grew up seeing like going to natural health clinics and things like that. So I've been very fortunate that I've been exposed to that
That from
sort of
an early
thing.
age.
And I've learned to cook from both my parents. So, but even though I know how to cook things, you still kind of, when you have a kid, it's so very different because you got to focus on things you wouldn't necessarily focus on for your own personal food as much. So it's kind of helped me focus more on nutrition and get a better understanding of the nutritional components of meals, and we're not just eating for the sake of eating. Like there's reasons why we eat certain things, and they do different things to your body, and they feed different things in your body. And so it's good because it kind of helps me educate him as well. Like, so he'll be eating something, he's like, Mum, this makes me really strong and rah rah. So I'm like, I just use basic terms because he's 3.
Yeah, of
um,
course.
but yeah, and I'm like, it's all right if you want to have an ice cream every now and then, but if you want to have energy for playing a long time, you should eat some of this before you have that, so that you've got that extra. And he's like, oh, so it doesn't always work. Sometimes he's like, I want an ice cream. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay.
But it's like it's going in, that,
Yeah,
and like you said, it helps you understand more about what kids need specifically and talk to him about that. I mean, it's not always going to be received well, but I think the information still really goes in. So I love hearing that.
yeah. So it's been good. So yeah, we use the recipes and the cheat sheets quite a lot for things. So
Yeah. Are
definitely.
they is that what you would say is your sort of favorite part of the Natural Super Kids Club, is the recipes and the cheat
Yeah,
sheets?
yeah, and also just being able to ask you guys stuff on the Facebook page, like I like just having the ability to order stuff and get your advice on things has definitely been such a financially like better for me, because I don't have to spend such a huge amount of money for an initial consultation and stuff like that. And then also having some of the other, I can't even remember who it was. There was a breakfast challenge a couple of months back, and the mums suggested how to serve eggs in the morning. And literally, that's how we eat eggs every day. Like, I reckon we eat eggs 6 days a week,
Yeah.
because that's my son will have that said thing, poached
It's a
eggs
great
on
breakfast.
on toast every morning. Every morning. Sometimes we'll chop and change and have omelets and things, but because we've got a egg man, he comes and delivers us eggs.
Oh, cool.
So I'm like, I can't eat those eggs from the shops. I'm a bit of an egg snob because now that I've got
Yes.
the egg man, and they cost us like they're cheaper than at the shops
You
anyway.
and
So
way better quality, much more
oh,
nutritious.
they taste so good, and I'm like, oh, I can't eat no more eggs anymore. These
Yeah.
taste so good. Like the yolk is just insane. So
Yum. And so can you share, because I'm sure people are listening going, what was this tip that the mum shared about the eggs?
we just call them lava eggs. So
Yes.
I've got an egg poacher. So in the mornings he helps me crack the egg and stuff in it. We toast our toast. And then yeah, we put the poached egg on top of the bread, and then he has to cut it. So he'll get the knife and cut the top and then push it down so all the yolk
It just
spills out
makes it
over the
fun, doesn't
top.
it?
So he's like,
Yeah.
lava eggs. He's like, look at all that lava. I'm like, yeah, buddy, how good is that? And then he has to do mine as well because we have to eat the same thing. But yeah, so he gets excited. It like literally gets excited about that every day. And if like, because I think my partner made him breakfast once and he went to cut it and he's like, "No, you touch my egg." You know, like he's just like, "No, I've got to do that. That's my thing." So
Yes, that's so good. And that's what the club is all about. Like it's not just about us practitioners kind of giving you advice, although we hear that that is something that club members love, but it's also about like sharing wisdom between mums. And that post, I remember that post, and that was a little while ago when we were doing the breakfast challenge, as you said, but everyone was like, wow, what a great idea. And
yeah, it's definitely been, yeah, like so easy to get him to eat eggs every day because of that. So
yes.
really good.
That's such a good tip. Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing. And I love hearing that the club has allowed you to like save money in terms of, still get that support and be able to ask questions and get access to all the resources, but not necessarily having to go to, regular appointments, like one-on-one appointments with a naturopath. And that's
Like, yeah, what we spend on the whole year is what one appointment is with who I was seeing. So
yeah.
that's not including the supplements.
Exactly. And then like one of the reasons I created the club was even for people that I was seeing one-on-one as a client, like you still don't have time to share all the resources and things that we share in the club, and
Yeah,
for parents, things pop up inevitably, whether it's, a diagnosis of something or it's just a developmental stage where kids might be a bit fussy or they might want to focus on getting more veggies in, or kids get gastro or they get, skin issues. And so we really try and, create so many resources for
yeah,
parents with all of those different things that, we go through as parents when it comes to our kids' health and nutrition.
yeah, yeah. It's been really good. So I've been happy with all the help I've had through there. So
That's lovely to hear. All right, let's go to some quick fire questions. Are you ready for these?
yes,
Okay, so first question, what do you think your son would say if I asked him what makes you a good mum?
I think mostly that I listen to him and I know what he means when he's saying stuff. Like I'm his interpreter.
I love that. And
Oh,
listening, I think that's
yeah.
such a good trait to have as a mum. Like, we need to listen. And I
Oh,
think,
yeah.
yeah, like, and as they get older, obviously I've got teenagers. I've learned that they just need you to listen. They don't need you to solve their problems.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I get it wrong, but most of the time I'm like, I know what you're saying. I get it. And I have to tell people, they're like, I don't know what he's talking about. Like he's concise with his language. Like you wouldn't think he's 3.5. He's like 20 sometimes. But like just I'm like, you've got to communicate exactly what you mean because some people just don't understand when you're saying this that you really mean this. You've got to be very clear that I know
Yes.
what you mean, but they don't because I'm with you all the time and they're not. So trying to teach him, not everyone understands. So yeah, which is good because I'm a terrible communicator. So having a kid has definitely meant I've had to change how I speak and how
Mm.
clear I communicate things. So
And it sounds like you're teaching him like really good communication skills by helping him kind of, or like interpret what he's saying to other people as well.
yeah,
That's beautiful. So what do you find most challenging in motherhood?
the tantrums and like the behavior, like when he's having a meltdown, that's something I've
Mm.
struggled with immensely. Just because I'm like, I do not have the emotional coping mechanisms for this. So it's been a kind of an education for me to kind of get a grip on how I react and respond. Because I'm like, oh, well, he's only going to copy my behavior. So if I don't handle this well, he's not going to handle this well. I mean, sometimes we both just lose our biscuits at each other and we both end up in tears. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have spoken to you that way, buddy. And he's like, oh, I shouldn't have spoken to you that way either, Bob.
Oh.
You know, my partner's really good with him. Like when he has a meltdown, my partner is amazing at getting him to calm down and stuff like that, like way better than I am. But also, I think he's kind of lucky in the sense he's not like unlucky too because dads would love to be around more, but like he works most of the time, like most of the day, so he kind of has a different mindset when he comes home. If my son's losing his biscuits, he's got a different way of handling it.
Definitely.
So yeah, but it's definitely been an eye opener, kind of going, oh, I've got a lot of things I need to deal with because I shouldn't be like this upset by this.
Well, it's like, yeah, it's a learn. I think having kids, and especially when there's, tantrums or irritability or grumpiness going on, I think we learn so much from that as mums. And
Yeah.
it can be hard to keep our cool and for us to be regulated when we've been dealing with, those sorts of things all day. And 3.5 is not an easy age, I'll just say. So
Oh,
I feel like you're in the
wild.
the worst of it right now in terms of, tantrums.
Yeah, everyone was like, oh, terrible twos. I was like, two was a breeze. What are you talking about? Two's nothing.
Yes.
He was perfect.
Do you know, I remember feeling like that about my son as well. I was like, God, I've got this. I'm like, my kid doesn't do tantrums. And then 3 hit, and I'm like, okay, yes, he does.
Yeah, yeah. And you're just like, what fresh hell is this?
Yeah.
Like, I felt so confident, like, oh, yeah, my kid doesn't have tantrums, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God. Like,
I know.
this is insane.
Yeah. It's a tricky part to navigate. So thank you for sharing, because I'm sure a lot of people listening will definitely resonate with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you prefer crafts or cooking or outdoor adventures with your son?
Well, we do all of them, just depending. But if it's a nice day, I definitely prefer outdoor stuff, like going to the beach, going like sometimes we'll go because we live pretty close to like the rainforest and stuff, so like half-hour drive. So the beach is not that far either. We've got a beach probably 25 half-hour away as well. But yeah, I try to get out in nature as much as possible with him, and also for me, because with like I've got anxiety and stuff as well. So the more time I spend in nature, the calmer I am. And it calms him down as well. And we get to do stuff like we'll go swimming, and we'll go for like rainforest walks and have picnics and stuff like that. So I try to, as much as possible, do things like that. And if we can't go too far afield, I'll jump on the bike, and because he's got a little bike seat on my bike, and we'll jump on that and head off together and go and do little things just close to home. So
that's lovely.
try to do stuff, or just walk up the street. There's a little we're near a golf course, so they've got lakes and things with ducks and stuff. So it's like try and get out and about and away from, because if it was up to him, he'd probably sit and watch TV all day.
Yeah.
But I'm like, nope.
We're getting at, yeah, it's so good for them. And I mean, I talk a lot about how getting outside and getting into nature is so good for kids and for us as well. I love that you brought in the fact that it helps to calm your anxiety, because that's so true. I think, and there's research to show that time in nature and time outdoors is one of the best things for our nervous system.
Oh yeah, like we just recently spent a week down at the beach, and I was just like, and cause it was with my mum, so it was good. Like I got to go for swims and stuff without my son. Like I got to actually go out in the ocean,
out and actually have a swim.
I'm like, oh my God, I haven't done this since before I had him. Like it just felt so freeing.
Yes.
Like and even just like when I have an RDO from work, me and my best friend will go to do a rainforest walk together. Like that's our thing. We'll go have like a nice breakfast and then go for a rainforest walk. Which is just, and I'm like, it's just, yeah, I love it. Like I've always loved it. And it's definitely been, because I'm not a huge, I've had reactions to medications and stuff in the past. So to deal with my mental health problems and stuff like that, I tend to self-medicate by doing stuff like that, because I know it helps me. So I'm like, I have to go and plug into the earth for a while and get my little hippie on.
Yeah.
And then like, yeah. So,
oh, yes. I think that's so powerful. And yeah, I remember those days of like not actually being able to go for a proper swim when you've got little kids.
Yeah, because I'm just like, I just want to go for a swim. Like, I just need to be in the water. It's all right because we've got passes for like theme parks and stuff as well. So that's really good to occupy us, because we can go look at like there's animals, like it can, like, because we've got the Dream World passes, we'll go look at the animals there and go on a couple of rides, or we've got like the water parks and stuff like that.
That's
so
awesome.
there's access to that as well to kind of keep us doing things.
Yes.
And then we're kind of in a good spot. Like the other day, we just jumped on the train because it's 50 cents at the moment. So I was like, let's go to the city. So we went up there and went for a swim at South Bank. Then I just let him have the day to what he wanted. So I was like, what do you want to do next, mate? And he saw the Ferris wheel. So he's like, I want to go on that. So I was like, okay, let's go on that. And then we were on the Ferris wheel. I was like, what do you want to do after this? He's like, I want to go to the museum. So I was like, okay, we'll go to the museum. So like, it was kind of cool. Like we kind of live in a good spot where we can be quite active.
Yeah, lots of things to do. And I love like that like saying yes and letting them kind of choose what you do for the day is like really helps them feel like they've, you know, that they're in control and or gives them that bit of autonomy, which I think kids really thrive on.
Yeah. So it was a good day. I pack our lunch because I'm not spending money on food.
Such a good thing to do when you go out for the day because it's expensive, isn't it, when you're buying food all the time?
And plus, like, just the nutritional content of the takeaway food is just garbage. So I'm not spending $40 on us to eat food, and I could spend that much and get a week's worth of lunch.
Yeah, such a good way to look at it. And like, you feel like rubbish after you've eaten it, and you think, why didn't I just pack some lunch? So that little bit of prep time.
It definitely helps. But everywhere, like that's why I'm like, I don't mind having passes for the theme park, so I take all their food, even though they're like, no outside food. I'm like, oh, we're gluten-free.
Because the food in those places is rubbish, isn't it?
Awful. Yeah, and it's a fortune. I'm like, how can people afford this? Like, I'm like, this is wild. So so I take everything. I'm that mum that's like, here's my bag of snacks and lunch and everything. So I'm just like, and I love it. Like occasionally I'm like, you can have one little treat of something. So like when we were at the city the other day, I got a coffee at this French cafe, so he was allowed to get a French biscuit.
Yeah,
sort of thing. So he
doesn't feel like he's missing out or anything. Like, but you're still being able to feed nutritious food and also like save some money. Sounds like you've got a great lifestyle up there where you live. Yeah. Okay, last question. A meal that you make that everyone in the family will eat?
Lasagna or tacos.
Oh,
like, and because tacos, I can do anything. Like it can be chicken, beef, fish, prawns. Like I chop and change whatever that is. Like my son will eat whatever I put on them. And lasagna. And I've just made a new type of lasagna the other day. So I think I've ruined lasagna for everyone because we had friends over and they're like, we haven't stopped talking about your lasagna.
Oh.
It was that good.
What was it?
I slow cooked steak. So I made like a beef ragu, slow cooked the steak until it had all fallen apart, and then used that as my lasagna base.
That is taking lasagna to next level. No more mince, only steak in our lasagna.
And I'm like, this will only be a once every few months thing, I think.
I love it. That sounds delicious. I'm going to have to try that. Do you know, my kids absolutely love lasagna, but I don't make it all that often because it's
so finicky. Like
I know,
it's just the meat, then in the pasta, then the cheese sauce, and it's just like
it's just those few extra steps, isn't it? But it is a meal that always gets eaten in my family as well. And when I do make it, I always make sure I make a really big batch because while you're there, you may as well just make a bit more meat sauce, a bit more cheese sauce.
Exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's been so good to have this chat with you today. Thank you so much for joining me. And sharing your story and the progress that you've made in your son's health.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity. It's been good.
Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. Head on over to our website, naturalsuperkids.com, for the show notes for this episode, as well as a whole heap of inspiration to help you raise healthy and happy kids. I'll see you next week. don't forget you can get $20 off your first order with Part and Parcel, an online store where you can find all of your healthy pantry staples in one place. All you need to do is use the coupon code NSK for Natural Super Kids, $20, that's NSK, $20 to get $20 off your first order as long as it's over $99. And as well as all of those healthy pantry staples that I mentioned at the start of this episode, they have a great range of snack foods, maybe for those weeks where you don't get around to baking whole food bars, healthy popcorn, jerky, and baking mixes with only healthy ingredients. Head on over to partandparcel.com.au/Natural Super Kids and use the coupon code NSK $20. I know you will love the convenience and all of the healthy options that Part and Parcel have to offer. We are thrilled to be collaborating with them.